Tonight on JoyNews Prime, customers of the Electricity Company of Ghana complain about frequent power outages in the last few weeks.
Light went off without coming, like it went off around 6 to 7. Then they just bring it out like 12 to 1. And it doesn't come like the way it's normally used to be. It's like a low current.
The Energy Ministry is blaming the outages on the lack of gas from Nigeria as a result of maintenance works on the West Africa gas pipeline. Minority in Parliament abstained from debating the President's State of the Nation address after last week's walkout.
It is our belief that we will be responding to sections of them, and we will climax it with a true State of the Nation.
The majority, however, disagrees.
So, their constituents voted for them to come and work on their behalf in the chamber. But for them to say that they want to abstain totally, I don't agree to what they are doing.
The Institute of Economic Affairs blames what it says is the perception of widespread corruption on the failure of the special prosecutor to prosecute.
The special prosecutor has been in place for about 2.5 years, but he has not prosecuted a single corruption case. He has been resourced and everything. In fact, if we are not careful, the special prosecutor's office itself will be corrupted.
In business,
several customers of defunct savings and loans and microfinance companies yet to receive text messages from the receiver for payment of their locked-up funds. We will be hearing from the coalition of aggrieved customers.
So we haven't received any text message. From Monday, which is on the 24th, we have not received any text message. No show. Honestly, no show. Nothing is happening.
I'm Israel and JoyNews Prime comes to you live from the JoyNews studio Kokomlimli here in Accra. Digital address GA09925539, where we're celebrating 25 years of fearless journalism. Stay tuned in. Residents in some parts of the country have complained about the electricity supply in recent times. Though no announcements have been made about power rationing, the residents in areas such as Spintex, Teshi and Agboba complain they are left without electricity for several hours.
I live in Spintex, Sakumono area. There are moments of light out. It's random. It's just random. But sometimes, most of the time now, it happens in the evening time. The lights out, let me say, give or take, let's say like 3 months.
I live in Teshi, 3 days. The light went off without coming, like it went off around 6 to 7. Then they just bring it out like 12 to 1. And it doesn't come like the way it's normally used to be. It's like a low current. First it was okay, but I think for now, this month, yeah, it's something else.
I live around Agboba PNT. So I think about 3 days ago, it went off just about 2 hours and came back again in the evening. And I think last week too. I mean, that's all essentially. In my area, it happened, so long as I'm concerned. I don't know whether it happened when I was at work, but it was in the evening, I think around 7 p.m. And then by 7:30 it came one of the occasions. Another time it came back around 9 p.m. That's about 2 hours.
I live at Teshi. Sometimes goes on Wednesdays and on Fridays, and even sometimes on Sundays as well. It has been happening for almost a month now. And then even sometimes it just goes and comes back within some few minutes. But sometimes we just go out since morning and then we come back later in the evening. Sometimes it happens around 8 in the morning and it comes around 11 p.m.
I live in Teshi. We experienced some light-offs. We were at church and it was light-off. Actually, because the church has a generator, we use the generator. But before the church was over, the light came in. I personally noticed it around 7:30 there around. But before we close at 9, now the light was in. So before I got on, I had light. For these past 2 weeks, it keeps occurring, yeah. And especially at midnight, when it comes, it keeps long.
I live at Teshi and Mantu, a.m. to 4 a.m. Then they own it about a month ago.
Well, President Akufo-Addo only last week announced during the State of the Nation address that the administration had effectively ended doom so.
All our best laid plans for industrialization will come to naught unless we have a reliable and reasonably priced energy source. It probably says something about the progress we have made, that in discussing the state of our nation, it takes a while even to get into our power supply matters. It gives me great pleasure to be able to say that we have overcome the Dumsor menace.
Well, JoyNews checks indicate the current outages are as a result of a shortfall in electricity supply of about 200 megawatts. This has been blamed mainly on the lack of natural gas supply from Nigeria due to ongoing maintenance works on the West African gas pipeline. Deputy Minister of Energy, William Mureku Edu, however, explains the current challenges being experienced with supply should be resolved in the next few days. On the Institute of Economic Affairs, IEA, is blaming the failure of the Office of the Special Prosecutor to pursue those engaged in graft for the current perception about corruption in the country. Speaking at a news conference on the 2020 State of the Nation Address, Research Director Dr. John Kwachi said people engage in corrupt practices with impunity and that the OSP should have been able to prosecute some officials by now.
We live and encounter corruption every day. And public officials and institutions perpetrate corruption with impunity. The systems to detect and prosecute corruption are inherently ineffective, and that is why we do not see people jailed, a lot of people being jailed. The special prosecutor has been in place for about 2.5 years, but he has not prosecuted a single corruption case. He has been resourced and everything. In fact, if we are not careful, the special prosecutor's office itself will be corrupted. In fact, there's a general cynicism about the ability of accountability institutions to fight corruption, despite what the president claims. In fact, not only is the legal framework ineffective and the accountability institutions weak, but there are doubts about the political will to fight corruption, which perpetuates private gain at the expense of the public and makes the public poor.
He said the collapse of men's gold and the financial sector meltdown have brought great hardship to many in the country.
The men's gold, DKN, and the rest have inflicted hardship on investors and their families. Therefore, when people say literally that there's no money in the system, these are the origins. You know, these are things that the politicians will not normally, say it. They will always come, especially in the State of the Nation addresses. I must say that, they will normally come and tell you the positive side of things, what they have achieved and all that. But it is common for them to play down on the negatives. I'm trying to help them to explain when people say there's economic hardship, what are the sources? Economic management can alleviate part of the hardship if it can deliver social interventions to mitigate the associated costs.
Now moving on, the minority in Parliament on Tuesday abstained from debating the President's State of the Nation address delivered to the House last week. Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah opened the debate on the floor. In of the minority to contribute, Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak said they have decided not to participate because they walked out on the President.
Honorable Minority Chief Whip, it's customary when this particular motion is moved on my right that there's a seconder on my left. What is the position as of now? Order.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Like you rightly said, it's not a rule, it's just a convention. Mr. Speaker, our principle is that we are not participating in this. So we will not be speaking to it. So that's why we are doing.
Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, as I indicated the other day, a member of the House is not required to be in the House to participate in the voting of any question that is put in the House. After we have debated the question we put on this motion, and any member who is not in the House, when the statement is being made, still technically is qualified to participate in the debate. Nothing prevents the minority from participating in the debate. Speaker, but the decision is totally theirs to participate or not to participate. So the chief whip has said that they are not going to participate. That decision is theirs and it must be respected. Except I heard him say that they have a principle not to participate. I don't know what the principle is. It's their decision. It's their decision not to participate. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to go into principles. I don't want to go into principles. But it's a decision. It's a decision, and the decision must be respected. As to the principle, I don't know what principle underpins this decision. Mr. Speaker, as I said, if they opt not to participate, we can go on. Yes. We can go on and debate. And perhaps we can speak what we are thinking for them. Mr. Speaker, so we can go on.
Thank you very much, Honorable Majority Leader.
Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak later explained to journalists the move was to ensure the concerns for which they walked out on the president remain fresh on the minds of the public. He said the minority MPs are convinced not participating in the debate will be in the best interest of the caucus and their constituents.
Well, let me say it's a matter of principle. I mean, we are a group, we are a caucus, and when this happens, no rules of the House bar us. I mean, the rules of the House is very clear. You can choose not to participate in anything, but when it comes to the debate, you can participate. You can decide not to go to committee meeting. When the report comes, you can participate. But in this instance, we really met as a caucus, and the decision was that let's keep a certain principle. It is our belief that we will be responding to sections of them, and we will climax it with a true state of the nation. So why should we participate? And the majority in that caucus meeting voted overwhelmingly that we shouldn't participate. And we are a caucus, and we are the leaders. We implement what the general membership agree to do. I would not want to go into the reasons why members think we should, but the general principle was that, look, let's keep to the principle of wanting this SONA to be registered as one that we worked out on for the reasons that we stated, so that reasons can last long.
The NPP MPs, however, disagree. The move is in the best interest of the country. Tema East MP and Deputy Transport Minister Titus Glover says the NDC MPs should not be paid for the duration they refuse to participate in the business of the House.
That is most unfortunate, totally unfortunate. I thought that after the walkout on the state of the nation, they will come back for us to continue the work of the House. It is their right to walk out. When we're in opposition, we all walked out to some point, but we came back and continued the business of the House. After all, their constituents voted for them to come and work on their behalf in the chamber. But for them to say that they want to abstain totally, I don't agree to what they are doing. Currently, when you go into the chamber now, they are contributing to the bill that we are doing. So in a way, they are working. So why particularly the discussion or the debate on the state of the nation? And for that matter, I think that they should look at it again, because if they don't, it means that they should not be paid their salaries for work not done. So, but I know my colleagues, with time they'll come back and work.
So that for you, the periods that they decide to abstain from the State of the Nation address and even to work out of the chamber or not, to a certain extent, deduction should be
I see their walkout as part of these minority actions. because I've been there before in 2013 to 2016. So at the end of the day, I encourage my colleagues to come back and let's work together, because we've ended it. Now it's about debate. You said you want to come back to power, which I disagree, and I don't believe that Ghanaians would vote for NDC again, because the ex-president Mahama is a liability.
Well, in a related development, NDC MP for Myong, Mohammed Abdul Aziz, is asking the Speaker of Parliament to declare vacant the seats of 30 MPP MPs for crossing the carpet during the President's State of the Nation address. The majority MPs moved across the chamber to occupy the seats of the minority MPs. For Mr. Abdul Aziz, this amounts to crossing carpet, and so the MPs should lose their seats.
Oh, as for we walking out of the chamber and why we did so, the reasons have been made known to the public. We have expressed ourselves in no uncertain terms why we chose to walk out. I'm sure the minority, through our leadership, would decide on the way forward, and then we would proceed.
And we saw some of the majority MPs occupy your seats on the other side of the...
Yes, they did. They did. Some of them crossed the maze to the side of the minority. I think about 30 members of parliament from the majority side crossed the maze and came to assume seats at the minority side. I'm sure they are in a hurry to go into opposition and to become the minority caucus in parliament. But the more serious issue and the more fundamental issue has to do with the fact that once you cross the maze, your seat automatically becomes vacant. You remember in 2006, when Professor Wayo Seni, who was the member of parliament for Tamale Central on the ticket of the NDC, chose to cross the carpet. When he denounced his membership of the NDC and crossed the carpet, the honorable minority leader then, Honorable Bagbin, drew his attention, and the speaker was compelled to declare his seat vacant. I am of the conviction that under this circumstance, our colleagues have vacated their seats, and I expect Mr. Speaker to declare their seats vacant and to communicate same to the electoral management body, the EC, to conduct elections for those seats.
We're staying in Parliament, where former Energy Minister Emmanuel Kofi-Boah says President Akufo-Addo misled Ghanaians when he told Parliament last week during the State of the Nation address that the NDC government drilled no wells for oil production between 2012 and 2016. Addressing the media outside Parliament, Mr. Boah said the NDC government oversaw the drilling of more than 38 wells.
The opaque period, he described 2013 to 2016 as the opaque period, saw, according to the Ministry of Energy, the signature of 13 petroleum agreements from which oil wells were to be drilled. Not a single well was drilled. And let me underline that. Not a single well was drilled. That's according to the president. In contrast, in my time, over the last 3 years, there have been 6 drilling campaigns and 3 different blocks with others on the way. We will drill more and find more oil. Ladies and gentlemen, the good news is that the petroleum sector is a sector of record. And I will share with you so you understand why I wanted to make sure we correct the record. This document is from the Petroleum Commission. It has listed all the drilling activities, whether it's a development well, appraisal well, throughout 2013 to the present. Actually, the Petroleum Commission, which is the regulator, the custodian of the upstream sector information, this is what they are saying. In contrast to what the president just stated to the people of Ghana, the Petroleum Commission has it on record that the NDC government between 2013 and of 2016 drilled 38 oil wells. 38. Not 38. And the kind of investment that went into those drilling was $2.2 billion. That should tell you a lot about the active participation of major oil companies and how active our oil basins were.
We're taking a break here on JoyNews Prime, but still ahead in the bulletin, several customers of the Fund Savings and Loans and microfinance companies yet to receive text messages from the receiver for payment of their locked-up funds.
I haven't received any text message. From Monday, which is on the 24th, we have not received any text message. No show. Honestly, no show. Nothing is happening.
Stay tuned in. We'll be back in a bit. It's time for business. Sandra is here. Hello, Sandra.
Hello. Receiving text messages, not receiving text messages.
Well, text messages not coming through.
Yes.
And the customers of the defunct micro savings and finance and savings loans and companies are complaining.
And then the receiver will also be speaking in business.
Okay, that's good.
Celebrating 25 years of joy, I am Sandra Esinam Apenu, and I'm here for business. In our first story tonight, the receiver for defunct savings and loans and microfinance institutions says it has so far issued over 1,000 messages via WhatsApp and emails for full payment of affected customers. This will be the second batch of payments aside 800 messages that were sent yesterday. Spokesperson for the receiver, Philomena Kujo, tells Joy Business some of the messages may have delayed due to huge numbers involved. Ebenezer Sabote has more in the following report.
Almost 2,000 customers are expected to receive their confirmation of full payments from the receiver's office. Spokesperson for the receiver, Philomena Kuzo, confirmed to Joy Business that an account has been created at the Consolidated Bank Ghana for all customers to access their funds.
The message will say, "Dear," and then your name, and it will tell you that the full amount, your full amount, has been paid into an account, a CBG account, and then the account number is provided. So that is what you take to CBG and proceed from there.
How do you come up with such accounts?
Okay, for the data that we get, we deal with. When we prepare the data, we send the data to CBG, and they create these account numbers for all these depositors. So once they create an account number for you, it means you've been paid. Initially, when we started and we're paying the caps, these account numbers were virtual, but now these are account numbers that are real account numbers that they've created this time around.
She has been justifying why some may not be able to receive their messages by close of day on Tuesday. She advised customers to exercise patience as it continues with the process.
The text messaging, we are all using gadgets, so there's likely some will drop, some may not go. What we do is that for the undelivered messages that we get at our end, at the end of the day, we recompile them and send again. We keep sending until for some reason, maybe due to wrong numbers, the messages don't go through. We look at that. So we get back to them through calls. Some I send emails if I can to them. But definitely you need to get an SMS to be able to get your money.
Meanwhile, some customers have confirmed receipt of text messages to indicate that their funds are ready for withdrawal.
Meanwhile, as of midday today, our checks at some branches of the Consolidated Bank Ghana in Accra indicate customers are yet to access their funds. Let's hear from the Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the Coalition of Aggrieved Customers, Idrisu Mubarak.
We've gone around most of the CBG banks, and then the information on the ground is that the MD of the managing director for CBG is now trying to come out with the modalities, which are the procedures that are going to be involved in the payment. And these modalities included, text messages that we are going to receive as affected depositors or customers. So we were like, if that is the case, the CBG director, they should have thought of this and then maybe start something earlier prior to even the president's promise, so that as the president stated emphatically that on Monday the payments will begin, so that at least text messages could have started coming on the 24th. But notwithstanding that, whatever happened has happened. So we haven't received any text message. From Monday, which is on the 24th, we have not received any text message. And we have a very large group of individuals which are affected customers. And we have some of them on the WhatsApp platforms. Some we have them on Telegram and other social media platforms. And we communicate a lot because we have regional heads of the coalition for savings and loans customers who are affected. That's the CASLOC group. Yes, we have a very large unit and all regional heads of every region, 16 regions. So we communicate with them, and they have also been communicating with their own others within the region. And no show, honestly, no show, nothing is happening.
All right, so Idris Mubarak joins me in the studio now, and he is the Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the Coalition of Aggrieved Customers. Thanks so much for your time, sir. And so you heard the receiver there. She promised that if you don't get it through text messages, you get emails and sometimes even calls. You complained as of midday today that you are yet to receive calls, pay your checks with your members. Has the situation changed?
Sorry. I wish to say good evening to our viewers, and then I want to thank you very much for this opportunity. But the question you just asked, I'll go straight forward by answering you, and that is, we have not received any update yet. If I'll go a bit back towards what the receiver's spokesperson said, they laid more emphasis on, how do you call it, the text message issues. And if you check, they were saying that without the text messages, nobody should visit the bank's premises whatsoever, that you are coming to access your fund. And it's fair enough, it's good. Since we are also citizens, we need to listen to them and obey instructions. Right. So my team and I, none of us, we are over 6-something million affected customers nationwide. Yes, but we have Telegram pages, we have WhatsApp pages, and other social media pages which we communicate easily so that we can ask. And you mean this for medium of communication is very active, and you can assure us that you've reached everybody and they have not received the text messages? Okay, in this case, the easiest way to even get them is we have regional head or regional unit. So every region has its own people. So when information is sent down there, it is disseminated. So everybody who picks it up comes out to say something about it. And you want to say that the 1.6 that you're talking about, nobody has confirmed? It's 6.4. 6.4. The affected nationwide. Nationwide. A million, yes. Nationwide. Customers, you're in touch with everybody? No, we are not in touch with everybody, but our group is the Coalition of Affected Savings and Loans Customers. So you have reps of this groups? These particular groups, which is across all the 16 regions of Ghana. Right. You get it, good. So with all these representatives, we communicate. You get to communicate. All right, another issue that we are picking, our sources are telling us that the receiver is trying to deal with institutions before dealing with individuals. I want to know whether your group is made up of institutions and individuals. If yes, have they confirmed? If no, what do you have to say about that? All right. To me personally, I would have been very grateful if these institutions, I learned it was something including churches and industries and whatever, they should mention them. Those to whom they've done such payments to or text messages, they should mention them so that such institutions, whether it's the school, it's the industries, whatever it is, they also come out with their feedback. By your institution, your coalition, do you have institution as members? Okay, there could be members who will be part of such industrial institutions that they are talking about, or the whatever it is that they are talking about. We could have some of our members who will be affiliated to such institutions, such industrial, but we are not known, or they've not informed us about it. But please, if you check, if they were even part of it, when we asked our questions on our platforms, most definitely they will come out to tell us. All right. Well, the biggest issue is, yes, the president was very emphatic about everybody receiving their money. He promised, and his words were clear. So one will ask you, yes, we have delays. Monday he promised, it didn't work. Today you are yet to receive text messages. But what's the cause for alarm here? Are you doubting the president of the republic? To me, for when it comes to the presidential aspect, I have a lot of doubt in that sector. Why do you say so? I'll plead with you to give me a little... We don't have time, so just make it quick just so briefly. That we can wrap up. So the president came out on... just a minute, please. Good. So we have the president who came out on the 26th of, prior to the president's coming, we have the receiver who came out on the 19th of August 2019 to make promises of whatever it is that we will be receiving the cash, and nothing happened. And it came down to the president himself on 26th of December evening. I think he has an evening press release. Yeah, okay. Yes, which nothing happened. And then we have the Ministry of Finance, which is the finance minister also said something, which later you can cross-check. Nothing happened. The vice president town hall meeting at Kumasi also, he made mention, they spoke about this, that the payment to be done. Nothing happened. And then came the president again on the sonar, and then so we are yet to.
You're doubting the president and then the receiver to make payment, and you think this is game?
That is, you see, for now, the reason why, to me personally, and then speaking on behalf of my members, the reason why we are still having doubt about this is all this inconsistency, or should I say, excess promises and nothing happening. You know, until you receive your money in your account, you can't be sure of what is going on.
Unfortunately, we have to leave it here. I'm sure we'll be following up on this development, and we pray that you get your money soon. Idris Mubarak is the Greater Accra original chairman of the Coalition of Aggrieved Customers, and we've been discussing the issue with the receiver and affected persons with the savings and loans and microfinance institution. That's how we wrap up for the first part of business. I am Sandra S. and I'm back after 8 p.m. with more business. You do stay tuned.
Now, a week after the Gori accident that claimed 10 lives, JoyNews visited the communities of Jaisayo and Sablakopa in the Karachi West district where the victims reside. The typical rural farming and fishing communities have the victims left to their fate as the referred cannot just afford to travel to the various referral health facilities. The accident victims are said to be resorting to the use of local medications, painkillers and antibiotics to treat varying degrees of injuries at home. Correspondent Peter Seno visited the communities and are sending this report. Now, some portions of the report with graphic images and viewer discretion is advised.
106 people, according to the Karachi youth president, were involved in the accident that claimed 10 lives. The 11th, who died after being referred to the Tamale Teaching Hospital. Children as little as 3 to 8 years were involved in the accident. It took this woman, who lost her husband several seconds, to muster courage to narrate exactly what happened on that fateful day. This is Sablakopa, a fishing community with about 300 residents. Over 15 people are managing varying degrees of injuries here. Those referred say they cannot afford, so they are relying on local treatment. One woman from here lost both hands and is currently receiving treatment at the regional hospital in Hu. This little boy cannot just lift his arm as he used to do. One appeal on their lips is the help to receive some medication to avert any crisis in the coming days. You have seen for yourself. We really need help. We are suffering. Lest I forget, there was also premature labor as this baby was delivered because of the accident. Let us now move to Jaisayo. This is a typical peasant farming community. This is the most affected community in the accident, as 9 people died from here. Even their man Krado was involved in the accident. This JHS2 pupil has suffered open fracture and has been referred to the Tamale Teaching Hospital, but affordability has come into the equation. He is surviving on antibiotics and painkillers. Flies can be seen hovering around the sore with the possibility of infecting the wound. This young man stands all day and sleeps on his belly due to the sore on his buttocks. Assistance is all they are requesting. Hastings Anani is the Karachi youth president, and he appeals for urgent support for the victims. He has been soliciting for funds for them.
If you look at the degree of injuries they have sustained, it's beyond the assistance we are giving them. Some have been referred because they don't have money. They are still lying there. You look at some had fractures and they have been asked to go to the respective hospitals where they could have a proper attention. But because they don't have money, they are doing this local treatment. And you can understand, as I'm speaking to you, some of them, it will take them 2 or 3 years before they will be able to work. And you can look at their plight. It's beyond what we are doing now. I think that the general public, NGOs, government, everybody should come on board, because what happened is a disaster. Because 10 people passed away, they have died as a result of the accident. And then those whose cases are serious, I counted about 30 plus, 32, 33 thereabout, who didn't die, but their injuries are very, very serious, that they need to be attended to. Some at the hospital, because the pressure was on the nurses, they couldn't attend to some of them, because they considered that theirs was manual, and for that matter, they couldn't attend to them because of the pressure. Some didn't even get attention at all. They left back to their respective homes and still suffering it.
If nothing will be done in the very few days, most of the victims would have their conditions deteriorating. And so from Jaisayo and Sablakokwe in the Krachu West District, this is Peter Sanu reporting for JoyNews.
Well, you can help them if you can. We're taking a break. We'll bring you showbiz next. Stay tuned in. This was on politics now. Nominations for MPP parliamentary primaries have closed, with Stronghold Ashanti region producing all the drama. Reports of delivery frustration of some aspirants by denying them access to nomination forms and refusal to accept their completed forms forced them to give up. Club building supporters engaging in a free-for-all fight with opponents, machinations and intimidations by some constituency executives to deny some aspirants nomination forms characterized the process. My colleague Otim Interior looks at the process in the Ashanti region and has come through with this report.
It is widely held that it takes more effort to win election at the primaries on MPP tickets than national polls in the governing party's World Bank Ashanti region. This means any parliamentary candidate on the ticket of MPP is assured of election victory, hence the tension at the primaries. Aspirants went through tiring moments, chasing constituency executives for forms since nomination opened.
I'm so much peeved, with what has happened, especially the people who are behind all this.
Club wielding supporters in a free-for-all fight against opposing camps, intimidation and maneuvering by some constituency executives for or against one aspirant or the other characterized the process. Some affected aspirants were compelled by circumstances to abandon their dreams and take long-term political decisions.
To get the form was a struggle in itself, and if you have the chairman of elders of our party calling you to say that, my son, I want you to step out of the race, and all the leadership calling you. At a point, like I said, you just have to succumb your interest to that of the larger party.
Nomination forms had become scarce commodity for some who were considered threats to incumbents or other preferred aspirants of powers that be.
The nomination closed yesterday, but unfortunately, I could not find mine. I'm sure you are aware of what has been happening a couple of days ago. I put in a lot of effort. We spoke to a lot of people. We did all that we were supposed to do. But unfortunately, some people deliberately decided not to let us file, and they succeeded.
Efijase, Mampon, Bekwai, Bosome Freho, Adansia Sokwa and other places provided the hotspots. They were left disappointed.
I see it as very unfortunate, very unfair, very, very unfair, and very democratic. Some of us have been with the NPP because of their democratic credentials. So we least expected such things to happen within the NPP.
Filing nominations was a task on its own for some aspirants. They paid the hard price in their attempt to go through the process.
You are putting people on hold. No, you are hurting the feelings of others. You are hurting the feelings. What is it to receive nomination forms to the extent that, there should be high tension for anybody to get injured. No, I will condemn it.
While some cried, others jubilated.
There are about 700 and about 90 delegates, out of whom, as we speak today, 670 have appended their signatures to say that there shouldn't be any contest. So if you are outside there making noise, that's what I said the other time, that clearly is empty noise.
Even for some aspirants who managed to file their nominations, their political future is still uncertain.
I went traditionally to the Bantamahene, said, please go and talk to this gentleman. In the interest of our stability and progress, to make Bantama great again, we need some stability, so please. He went there, and as for what was told to him, I don't want to say. I asked the chief of staff, can you tell my brother to hold up in the interest of Bantama's progress? And again, he refused. So now, the decision rests with the people.
What at all is in becoming a parliamentarian? Your guess is as good as mine. From Kumasi for Joy News, Parliamentary reporting.
Also, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has asked Ghanaians to look forward to more concrete roads in what is dubbed the Year of Roads in fulfillment of government's promise to increase road construction and rehabilitation across the country. He also assured government will respond positively to calls by Ghanaians by rehabilitating and constructing new roads to minimize the ordeal affected communities face on a daily basis. At the commissioning of a 4-kilometer concrete road which links the Pong community to the industrial hub of Sunan Asogli power plant, Dr. Bawumia commended the power company for meeting the very critical need of the people of Pong.
The 4-kilometer concrete road which stretches from the main Pong township to the Sunan Asogli power plant here in Pong happens to be the second concrete road project in the country since the completion and commissioning of the 19-kilometer Accra-Tema motorway. The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who commissioned this project, couldn't help but pat government in the back with a promise that there are more on the way.
Concrete roads are durable. They last about 40 years on average and have a longer lifespan than asphalt roads, and they are environmentally friendly. The government, under His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, therefore started a pilot project 2 years ago to construct a 5.4-kilometer concrete road on the popularly called Tema Steelworks and DVLA Road. I had the honor to cut the sod for work to begin on that project. And when completed, it will become the third concrete road in the country. And it will benefit not only Pong Katamanso and municipality, but also the Tema metropolis and adjoining districts. So since independence, we had just one concrete road. Under Nana Akufo-Addo, 54 years later, we are adding 2 more, and we will add more and more. Ladies and gentlemen, the President has declared the year 2020 as the year of roads. Across the country, roads have become the call of Ghanaians as an important need for their daily lives and for greater public safety. I wish to seize this opportunity to touch on some selected roads in the municipality which have been awarded for rehabilitation works. The rehabilitation works include construction of culverts and drains, graveling and sealing. The selected roads under contract are the Pong Township roads, Community 22 to Atadeka roads, Afariwa Link Road, McBaron to Frenchman Road, Kasasunanka number 1 and number 2 roads, Besile to Apollonia Road.
Well, the brouhaha surrounding the construction of the Jasikan-Hoy stretch of the Eastern Corridor Road is up for discussion following claims by government through the roads minister, Kweku Amakwata, that the contractor Roleda is back on site. In July 2019, the contractor returned to the site following government's assurance, but that was short-lived. During a recent 2-day visit by the president, JoyNews can confirm the presence of the contractor on the road. The president, addressing the chiefs and people of Jasikan, challenged the media to visit various road construction sites and report to Ghanaians accordingly. Correspondent Peter Senu has been doing some checks on the roads and has sent the following report.
The last time any meaningful work was done by Rolida on the Jasikan stretch of the Eastern Corridor Road was in November 2019 during the sword cutting ceremony for the construction of the Jasikan to Dopepesu Road. It was at this time the road was graded to make it usable. No action has since been witnessed until the visit by the president last Sunday and Monday into the region. In fact, the road became very dusty during this period of inaction. 2 vehicular accidents were recorded, one in December 2019 and the other early January 2020. Vehicles had to overspeed to avoid the dust being created by others. The president last Monday at Jasikan challenged the media to get onto the ground to find out whether or not the roads minister, Mr. Amakwata, was telling lies in earlier claims at a press conference that Rolida was back on site and actively working. We did just that.
What you want to know? Who call them? Said they are quite a kind and the crack and then the crack. I'm offering to you. Go here to me who said, as some more kind, it will work and then some call when you control who said the crack and all and then from.
Only 4 earth-moving machines were on site Tuesday morning, with 3 actively doing what one supervisor says is removing debris from the culverts pending the onset of the rains.
We are trying to continue the route. This is called desilting of the debris from the culverts. We are desilting the culverts so that the water can flow easily.
But why is the contractor not fully back on the grounds? Contrary to claims by the roads minister that the contractor is fully back on site and work is actively ongoing.
Where Jasikan 32 kilometers is being worked on by Rolida Construction, and all of you are witnesses to the good work that company is doing. Company is on site, and anybody who flies from this place to Pohoi, you see the contractor is actively on the road. And I want to assure the people of this region that the president will do everything possible, his government will do everything possible that this contractor completes work and will not abandon site, because everything will be done to keep all contractors on Eastern Corridor Road.
But why is the contractor not fully back on the grounds? Contrary to claims by the roads minister that the contractor is fully back on site and work is actively ongoing. Oti Regional Minister Kwesi Osuyebua has some explanation in earlier conversation.
Well, I think that is a question of payment, but the Ministry of Roads and Highways has given the assurance. We had a meeting with them. We have given the assurance that by the close of the month, most of these pending interim duties would have been satisfied, and the contractors will move to site. So I'm quite sure that once the contractors are sufficiently empowered financially, they will move to site and quickly work on the rules for us.
This assertion about payment, the contractor set off camera, they are still working on. The roads minister somehow agrees that there are possible challenges.
I stand by what I said. Rolida is back to work. So, young man, I want to confirm that Rolida is back on site. And I'm happy the contractor is here, and we are going to do everything possible. It doesn't mean they don't have problems, but we are going to dialogue with them on weekly basis to make sure that we meet their needs and to keep them on site.
The only good news we can report is that Power China on the Jassy-Kandodo-Pepesu stretch of the Eastern Corridor is actively on site and work is ongoing. Peter Sanu for JoyNews.
A three-day meeting of health experts from different countries and organizations working in malaria prevention, control and elimination in the sub-region has opened in Accra. The Rollback Malaria Partnership meeting is seeking, among other things, to review the seasonal malaria chemo prevention intervention rolled out by some African countries, including Ghana, to help fight the prevalence of malaria. There's more in the following report.
According to the World Health Organization, malaria is the main public health problem in the world, especially sub-Saharan Africa. The most affected groups are infants and children under 5 years. Several interventions, such as intermittent preventive treatment of malaria in infant and pregnant women, indoor residual spraying, the use of insecticide-treated bed nets, have been introduced to help reduce the infection rate in Ghana. Despite these interventions, malaria is still a leading cause of death in children and pregnant women in Ghana. In 2014, the Malaria Control Board of Ghana implemented the seasonal malaria chemo prevention intervention in the Upper West region, a preventive drug recommended by the WHO as an additional tool which has shown to be effective, safe and feasible in preventing malaria among children under 5 years of age. Programs Manager of the National Malaria Control Program, Dr. Kezia Mam, says the seasonal malaria chemo prevention has helped reduce malaria cases and plans are in place to extend it to other parts of the country.
So our latest data, when the regions were divided and we looked at the seasonality of the disease, was that OT region, some parts of OT region also have very seasonal malaria. So once we are able to identify the resources and get the resources, we are likely to increase the coverage of SMC to that region in the next grants. I think it's always challenging getting to people in their homes. So there are areas that are hard to reach. And because it's implemented in the rainy season, sometimes some areas get cut off and we have to use all means, quite difficult to reach these people. So probably we'll learn lessons. Is it possible to even send everything ahead of time and let the community members there? But even when you send the things ahead of time, you need a health worker at the highest level to supervise. So that's one thing. And we've had a few cases where people may reject because it's a medicine, but that is on the very low side.
The Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boaje, says government is working hard to sustain the gains made in malaria control.
Parasite-based diagnosis and treatment using artemisinin-based combination therapy, along with cross-cutting interventions such as research, surveillance, monitoring, evaluation, advocacy, social and behavioral communication. Ladies and gentlemen, in addition to this, Ghana incorporated WHO recommended seasonal malaria chemo prophylaxis, chemo prevention for children under 5 as an additional intervention in the strategic plan of malaria control between the years of 2014 and 2020.
The Rollback Malaria Partnership is a global health initiative created to implement coordinated action against malaria. The group mobilizes for action and resources and forges consensus among partners to deal with malaria.
Helping them with partners and all involved in that good intervention of SMC to sit down, review the planification, review the updates of achievements, and review some challenges and propose solution and way forward, especially for this year campaign and for the next 2 years campaign. There is still some challenges, for example, in terms of coverage. There still needs to cover more children. Secondly, there is some challenges regarding of drugs. and availability of drugs when we're implementing the SMC, especially in terms of quantity and quality. And we can say also there is also a big one, this is a funding challenges. We need to fund and see country how we can mobilize more funding and support countries.
The 3-day meeting in Ghana is to assess and roll out measures to improve the seasonal malaria chemo prevention intervention rolled out in some parts of African countries, including Ghana. For JoyNews, Matilda Gavi, Accra.
The Wine Form 1 and mere supporters when their school first qualified for the National Science and Maths quiz. 2 years on, they're representing Our Lady of Mount Carmel Girls SHS and have secured a place for their school at the National Championship. Barisu Zeharau and Vera Ejewa are not only intelligent, they possess mastery over science and mathematics, answering most of their questions. The ladies recorded the highest scores of 73, a whopping 63 points gap from their opponents who ended the contest with 10 points each. There's more in this report.
When quiz mistress Dr. Anita Oponkweku got the competition underway in Sunyani, it was Bechem Presek who picked the first slot after beating Sewakesi Girls and Hwidiem Senior High Schools. The Bechem Presek contestants, which include twins Winifred Nketia Jr. and Winifred Nketia Sr., amassed 33 points. They called on all stakeholders to help them prepare well.
I expect our teachers to do much more than they did for the regionals. So because for the nationals, it's much, it's difficult than the regionals.
There was, however, massive excitement as the girl power continued in the third contest when girls from Our Lady of Mount Carmel Girls Senior High School in Techiman mesmerized and disciplined the all-boys team from St. Francis Seminary SHS and Kwame Danso SHS. The girls, who have been involved in the quiz since 2018, won with 73 points.
At the end of the contest, we have Kwame Danso Senior High School with 10 points, St. Francis Seminary Senior High School with 10 points, and Our Lady of Mount Carmel Girls Senior High School with 73 points. And a big congratulations to Our Lady of Mount Carmel Girls Senior High School. I hope to see you perform even better in the nationals.
Basiru Zeharau, Vera Ejewa, and Louisa Ayamga had this to say.
We are very excited to our maximum excitement. It has really impacted on our performance because it has made us gain experience in terms of answering questions, stage composure. So it has really helped us.
Now we are going to prepare for the WASI, so after the WASI, then we will prepare for the contest again.
Support we are getting right now is their prayers and motivation, as well as sometimes also support us financially, just a little bit, because we are free education, we don't pay school fees, so it's not easy being the science and maths quiz without financial support. So in terms of finance, prayers and motivation, they've been keeping us alive in the quiz and will not let them down.
According to their teacher, Ejei Ejapon, their target is to make it in Accra.
Like they said, the experience is with them. They were at the national stage, at the regional stage, and we have tried to put in even more of the effort that we put in last year. We didn't relent based on the fact that we were experienced. So it all boils down to a lot of hard work, training, technique, and all that is needed to excel in the competition.
Joining them to the finals in Accra is Techiman Amiao Ekumfi from the Bono East region, whilst Bechem Presek, Mim SHS, and Achirenswa SHS qualified from the Ahafo region. In all, 13 schools will represent Bono East and Ahafo regions. For JoyNews, Precious Semevo, Sunyani.
President Akufo-Addo is set to pay a historic visit to the Central European country of Switzerland from February 28th to 29th. Announcing this to the media, Switzerland Ambassador to Ghana, Philip Stalder, says this would make President Akufo-Addo the first sub-Saharan leader to visit Switzerland in more than 60 years. The visit is also expected to strengthen the bilateral ties and forge closer partnerships to boost trade, economic and cultural relations.
President of the Swiss Confederation, Simonetta Sommaruga,
has invited the President of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, for a 2-day state visit to Switzerland. According to the Switzerland ambassador to Ghana, Philip Stadler, the Swiss government, composed of 7 federal councillors, will receive the President of Ghana and his delegation with military honors.
We are proud to call it a state visit and even a historic visit due to the fact that we never had a head of state from sub-Saharan Africa visiting Switzerland in that format since over 60 years. So it's really meaningful, and I think with that the Swiss government acknowledges the excellent and long-standing good relations between the two countries. State visits in Switzerland, it works in the way that the head of state of a foreign country is received with all the honorary, the military honors by the whole government, which consists of 7 ministers, by the president, of course. There will be official meetings, there will be press meeting, there will be a speech at the parliament, there will be a gala dinner, and the next day there will be kind of cultural program, also a visit to one of our industry which connects Ghana and Switzerland very closely, which is the Swiss chocolate industry.
At the core of the official talks will be the establishment of a closer partnership in the fight against climate change, but also discussions on trade and economic relations, development cooperation, among others. Philip Stalder said Switzerland, under the Development Cooperation Program, has invested more than $370 million and was supporting Ghana to diversify its economy and use its resources sustainably.
Still, we see potential to boost relations, especially in the area of trade and investments. We have our strong pillar of development cooperation. Then another pillar of our cooperation is our support for the peace and security efforts of Ghana in the region. We support the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Center, KPTC, since 2006, and we also would like to highlight our satisfaction and our continuing support for KPTC on the occasion of the state visit. Our will to collaborate and to conclude an agreement, hopefully by the end of the year, to have activities under the Paris Agreement for the preservation of the climate and the fight against climate change.
Hello again, my name is Sandra Sinamapani. Let's do more business. European investors are repositioning to invest in SMEs that are concerned about the climate at a Trade for Sustainable Development project at the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. Some SMEs were exposed to regulations in the European market. Charles Haite has more in this report.
Many Ghanaian SMEs are losing out on business opportunities from the European market. This is not because their products don't meet the standards, but rather due to failure of these SMEs to adopt environmental safety standards. Responding to the challenge, the International Trade Center IFC has started a rigorous training program for the SMEs in Ghana on how to implement green business standards in their service delivery. Joseph Wozniak is the head of the Trade Sustainable Development, who spoke to Joy Business at the ongoing training session by the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA.
The idea here is that you can reduce your operational costs, and that obviously improves your overall bottom line and improves your return on investment. And that also is very useful in terms of exports, because more and more buyers, whether they're in the European Union or whether in North America, they are looking for sustainable producers to which to buy from.
So what does this mean for Ghana's export margins? Samuel Dentu is Deputy CEO of GEPA.
Some strategies have been recommended for them by these coaches, and today we are meeting to present those strategies to them and possibly match them with some technology providers, as well as some financing companies, banks for that matter, to help them implement those strategies.
The Trade for Sustainable Development programs aims at improving the operation costs of SMEs nationwide. The all-year program is to strengthen SME competitiveness through the implementation of green business practices.
In other news tonight, President of Africa Policy Think Tank Imani Franklin Kujo says calls for a reduction in fuel prices at the pumps is not feasible as the market is deregulated. He added it is not automatic for prices to start going down due to temporal factors.
Well, it's a deregulated market, and I suspect there are reasons why they are not doing so. I don't think there's only one price at the pump. Is there? I think Gold has reduced its prices, hasn't it? Well, I guess, again, it's a liberalized market, and I think people should take their options. There are other fuel stations that may be selling quite low. I'm not too sure. It's not so automatic at every point in time to be seeing these things pass through. But I'm sure at the right time, these things...
Company reducing it, people say it's too insignificant. 0.2% is insignificant considering the stability of the city.
Well, then it should be more. You see, let me tell you one thing. The thing not to start jubilating about and start behaving like an Arabian prince is that the fact this appreciation is not going to last. That's the point people need to understand. It's not going to last. So the moment you start jubilating and start acting recklessly, you're going to have X on your face. I think that is the only reason I can give for this. Let's wait for it. Let's study it for a while and see whether the impact can be felt greatly. But if there are noticeable changes, we should appreciate.
Gold is still shining following the devastating effect of the coronavirus on crude oil prices. The precious mineral traded today for $1,645.08 an ounce. That's more in the commodity news. And before we go, let me remind you that the Multimedia Group is celebrating 25 years of joy. Keep loving joy by logging on to our website, myjoyonline.com/business. I am Sandra Esinamapenu. Thanks for watching.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports here on Prime with me, Oreko Ampofo. And we start off straight from some Ghana football, where the president of the Ghana Football Association, Keto Kraku, says that he loves to hear criticisms about his administration, as it enlightens him on the things that he may not be aware of, and that makes him certainly better at what he does. Now, he was speaking on Joy FM earlier.
I will be silly to believe that everybody will be with me or is with me. But I know the majority of the Ghanaian populace are with us. Majority of the Ghanaian populace believe in the way we have done the business of football in the time past. Majority of the people in the industry believe in what we have done so far and see a future that has hope, a future that will continue to open up opportunities for young kids, boys and girls in this country. Usually, such people will never be noticed from the woods of Ghana.
Have you heard any criticism of your administration?
I hear it on a daily basis.
There's one that says that...
And that's what I love most. Okay?
You do?
Yes, I love most. I love to hear people who see the other way, the other side that I don't see. I love to hear people who are not happy speak about what I do. But that's what makes me better all the time.
But still on the Ghana Football Association, and A sports journalist Harry Asante-Chum, now, he does not believe that his appointment as head of communications at the GFA was because he campaigned for Keto Kraku, but rather it was purely based on merit.
Excited by the fact that, yes, I played a role in getting Keto Kraku elected. I did not make it a point or believe at some point that by hook or crook I needed to be given a job. I believed in the decisions of the Executive Council. I left everything in their hands until 2 weeks ago when the ESCO summoned me to a meeting or invited me to a meeting and told me that they want me to come on board and help the communications department. I think at the beginning my role was not clearly defined, but once Tamimu left the seat, then it became obvious that I would have to come and and head the department. So that's how it happened. It wasn't like by hook or crook. It wasn't like something that I was craving for. But once it became obvious that I would be useful, then I began psyching myself and put myself in a good position to get ready for the task ahead.
So would you say because of the role you played in the election process, that's why you got a job?
I would say that the president believes in me. I would say that I have worked with him for 5 years, and he knows I understand his way and his style of work, and he knows that I am someone who can also bring quality to the work at the FA. I don't want to think that is because of the role I played, because I wasn't the only person who worked in that team. The Game Changer team had a lot of people, but I don't want to believe that all of them have been given appointments. My brother Aminu Shado at the moment does not work for the FA. Derrick Okreku and Co were all members of the Game Changer team, but they are not occupying any official position at the FA. So it's about competence, it's about belief, and it's about the fact that maybe the ESCO thinks I have something in me that can be useful.
Asante Chum, newly appointed head of the communications department of the Ghana Football Association, but he also confirmed that there is no official relationship between the GFA and the GNPC yet, despite the latter expressing interest in coming on board.
GNPC only stepped in during the AFCON, the 2019 AFCON, because they had abrogated the contract with the ex-Wild administration. Currently, there is no official relationship between the FA and GNPC.
But the last time Sika Kuno was being unveiled, GNPC logo were behind.
I think that was just for the purposes of branding. Truth of the matter is that GNPC has expressed interest in coming on board. Now, they also want to help the FA president carry out his vision of providing boreholes at the training grounds of Premier League, Division 1 and Women's League clubs. Now, one of the things GNPC as a company have spoken about is that they are ready to use or part with some of their CSO to support the Football Association. Now, part of that may go to the Black Stars and part of that may go to other social interventions. But as we speak, no contract has been signed.
Any idea how many years they want to partner the FA?
I am not sure, because I think discussions are still ongoing, and nothing firm, no firm decision has come up yet.
That was the head of the communications department, Henry Asante Chum. But before we go, a reminder that Napoli are currently leading FC Barcelona in Sao Paulo, where, remember, the Champions League there, and there's only 45 minutes played. Second half yet to play, with FC Bayern Munich and Chelsea also currently tied at 0-0 at the Stamford Bridge. But that would be wrapping it up for the sport here on Prime with me, Oreko Ampofu.
All right, it's time for JoyNews Interactive, and let's get onto our Facebook page and see some of the, get to read some of the comments that you have posted on some of the stories that we have there. Photo of the day, together we drink. And everyone has the right to clean and safe drinking water. Images such as these horrify people who have access to running water and rely on bottled and packaged water. But this is the reality for many, many people. And this is a photo taken by Jojo Kobna, and he took the photo at Mafutova Vupo, Central Town District of the Volta region. This was in February, on February 20, 2020. So just this year. Let's see some of the comments that you have posted. As you can see, you are having the human beings as well as the livestock drinking from the same source. 614 reactions, 276 comments. Seth says, I was watching a documentary on a TV with a deaf and dumb guy outside Ghana. They were showing hikers in the South American country drinking a clean water from a stream. The guy asked me in a sign language if I can drink such water. I told him yes. He was surprised, I'm sure. Let's get to opening that. He was so ashamed, actually, how people drink such water. He thinks it's unclean. Now, thank God, he won't have an opportunity to see this picture. I'm sure he won't sit near my table when he sees this picture. He can even collapse, of course. Felix says, every government who knows the right thing and they didn't do it, God will punish that government. Okay, every government that knows the right thing and don't do it, refuse to do it. Samuel there says, this is extremely sad and it's unfortunate people are denied potable water. God should save the vulnerable, and our leaders must make sure potable drinking water is available to every Ghanaian. Our legislators can make an impact, at least contributing some of the common fund to this agenda, and I know the government machinery is doing its best to help solve these issues. Ghana will be great again. Daniel Hemming says, you see, we think of boarding house for SHS community schools instead of solving problems of water, the basic requirement for living. It is said that life is water. Indeed, life is water. Water is life, actually. Citizen Elom says, if this is not wickedness, then what else is it? They'll come and tell you that is not true. Let's appreciate our problems as people and find lasting and appropriate solutions to them. Thank you for bringing this to bear. All right, and on that note, we are ending Joy News Prime. I'm Israelite. Thank you very much for watching. Make a date, same time tomorrow. Up next, we bring you PM Express. Stay tuned in.